bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. 18 days into the new year. Only 347 days left. Let's do this, man. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere, a total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful. It is. It's truly beautiful in here. It's my sanctuary. It's my last bastion of sanity. Right here. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the UNX and Game Changer Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Been looking forward to tonight's show. Pete McCarthy is here. From Creepy Little Book. He's the host. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Antarctica mystery. Yeah, man. Tomorrow night, another first-time guest. What a great week this week. Tonight, Pete McCarthy. Tomorrow night, Chris Plain is here of The Debrief, the head science writer, the lead science writer, the top guy when it comes to science over at The Debrief is with us tomorrow night. Really looking forward to that, too, as well. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And now, listen, I like to hype things up. I do. I'm a hype man. I do. It doesn't matter. Life Change Tea, right? Forbidden Knowledge, right? River Moon Coffee, right? And Crystal Skulls. I love my Crystal Skulls. And I want all of you to get yours. I want you to visit Carolyn Ford. It's really that simple. I did the unboxing video the other day. You need to experience what I did. Just go to EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Promo code Jimmy, 10% off of your order. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Go to EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Look at everything that Carolyn Ford has there. Just keep looking. One is going to jump out. You need to get that Crystal Skull. So go to Einstein the Crystal Skull today. All right? All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow me right there at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. It's always live to my right. It is literally in my face. I am watching the Sandbox. Click by. I use TweetDeck. I think everybody here knows about TweetDeck. I haven't talked about TweetDeck in probably a year. Get TweetDeck. It's made by Twitter. It's part of your browser, and that's it. And or is it a standalone? I don't know how it works. But just sign in, and then Twitter You have your columns, whatever it is that you want, and it runs like a slot machine. Anytime anybody posts in something that you want to follow, maybe it's yourself. You want to follow yourself. Yeah, well, that's the first column. Then the second column for me is hashtag F2B. First column is me. Second column is hashtag F2B. Third column is hashtag F2BQ. Fourth column is hashtag breaking UFO. And I have those 4 columns in front of me, and they update automatically. You don't have to click. You don't have to refresh. You click on notification. You have to no. And there's lots of custom things inside of it, too, as well. And it's the only way I use Twitter. I know Twitter's, the main thing, and the home page and trending and all. I don't even check that stuff out. I stay right there on TweetDeck. And so that's what you should do. Get TweetDeck. And once you get it, just hashtag F2B, and that'll be your first tweet. And just say, hey, I just installed TweetDeck. Somebody needs to come and help me out. Fadernauts will come running. They'll tell you what to do, and then you're going to get it all set up, and you're never going to use Twitter any other way. You're going to use TweetDeck. All right. Hello to everybody watching and listening all around the world. Let's get to the breaking news. I woke up to this morning. Clifford Mahouti has left this earth. He was a leader in our community, loved by everyone, a leader here for many, many years. He was a member of the Zuni Pueblo Indian tribe of New Mexico and left to the stars today. He was 77 years old. He was active in the Zuni orders of the Kachina, the Galaxy Medicine Society, the Sun Clan leadership, and was a wisdom keeper of the Zuni history. Clifford was one of the coolest, the funniest, the bestest, and most amazing people I have ever met. And I will miss his smile and his wicked sense of humor. And rest in peace, Clifford Mahouti. He was found this morning. As soon as I get some more details, I will pass it on. I have got a mountain of pictures. So I think this Thursday on Fader Night, we'll spend the evening talking about Clifford Mahouti. We'll take your phone calls, and we'll post some pictures. He was just absolutely amazing. Posted a picture today of the last time I was with Clifford. It was last year, and we just had a great time. And looking at those pictures and just thinking about that, another friend of mine, Tom, was just posting or texting me some pictures that he took of us. And it was, I just miss him already. 77 years of knowledge that was shared with us, and we will all miss Clifford Mahouti. More on Thursday, okay? Clifford, this show tonight is dedicated to you, my friend. All right. Now, also, earlier today, Microsoft announced plans. Are you ready for this? To purchase Activision Blizzard in a blockbuster deal worth nearly $70 billion. It's one of the biggest acquisitions in the tech industry in recent years. One that will boost Microsoft's standing in the growing gaming industry, but could be complicated by recent concerns about Activision's toxic culture. That's right. The all-cash transaction is valued at $68.7 billion, and Microsoft says it will make the company the third largest gaming company by revenue after Tencent and Sony. Whew. Incredible. I mean, it's $70 billion in cash. Incredible. NASA has enough astronauts to meet the current needs of International Space Station missions, but might soon discover that it lacks a sufficient number of additional astronauts for future projects. According to NASA's Office of Inspector General report, the astronaut corps is projected to fall below its targeted size or minimum manifest requirement in 2022 and 2023 due to astronauts retiring and additional space flight manifest needs. Currently, they have 44 astronauts, and it's the smallest corps in the past 20 years. And right now, NASA is preparing for its Artemis mission to the moon. The analysis conducted by the Audit Office shows that the number of astronauts in the 2022 fiscal year would exactly equal the number of seats NASA will need. No backups. That's incredible. Now, there's no need to freak out. But an asteroid that measures a little over a half a mile wide is currently, like right now during the show, flying close enough to our planet that you can go outside and catch a glimpse. Asteroid 1994 PC-1 swings past our cosmic corner tonight. While it's a big rock, it's zipping by us at a distance of 1.2 million miles. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. One of my favorites, Dave Bautista. Today is 52. Of course, he played Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's amazing. He's amazing. What? He was MMA, right? Right? Wasn't he MMA? That Dave Bautista. Turns out to be a pretty funny guy. Korn's Jonathan Davis today is 51. And our dead guy's birthday today is David Ruffin. 1941 to 1991, died at the age of 50. David was one of the lead singers of The Temptations from 1964 to 1968 during the group's Classic 5 period. He was the lead vocal on My Girl. That's right. I Know I'm Losing You. I Wish It Would Rain. Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And many other huge hits. David Ruffin. David fought drug addiction throughout his career, specifically cocaine and crack cocaine. Now, after completing a successful month-long tour of England, David died on June 1st, 1991, from an accidental overdose of crack cocaine in a crack house in West Philadelphia. Tragic. Happy birthday, David Ruffin. Man, the voice of a generation. Think about that. On this day in history, OTD 1912, Robert Falcon Scott reaches the South Pole, which we're going to be talking about tonight, Antarctica. He reaches the South Pole only to find out that Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian explorer, had already been there the month before. Could you imagine? Oh, man. Oh. Sled dogs, frozen horses, no food, death, cold, ice storms. You get through all of that for months, and then you find out that you got beat. Unreal. But it did. It happened on this day in 1912. Is that Dave Bautista? That's not him. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about MMA. That's Dave Bautista. All right. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. My sports gene has left the building. All right. Where am I at? Fader fact. As of 2021, the median age of the world's population is 30 years. That's your Fader fact. I'm just going to leave that right there. Think about that. It's incredible. Tonight, very special guest, Pete McCarthy is here. He's joining us to talk about the Antarctica mystery and his research into this. It's going to be a great show tonight. Really looking forward to this. And tomorrow night, Chris Plain is here. He is the head science writer over at The Debrief, and he's also a stand-up comedian. I bet you didn't know that, right? We're going to discuss all of that tomorrow. That's why tomorrow's show is called Science or Comedy. And I know what you were thinking. You were looking at that. You were like, so Jimmy, what is this, science or comedy? I don't get. Now you do. Chris Plain. Looking forward to that. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right, let me hit this River Moon coffee. rivermoonwellness.com. My the Fade to Black blend, when you order it, I get beans, right? I grind. And, man, speaking of that, I got to make sure we have Fade to Black blend for Conscious Life Expo. Ooh. Okay. All right. I'm glad I remembered that. Anyway, when you order it, comes in silver. Well, it depends, though, because sometimes it's, the normal brown sealed 1 pound coffee bags, 5 pound. Mine are silver, like astronaut bags. And why was I bringing that up? Well, it was because I was pouring some before the show into the hopper of my, I keep talking about this every night. I'm in love with my burr grinder. And I adjusted it. And, man, I am telling you, I fine-tune it. Seems like every day I back off. I go a little more, back off the grind. But, man, today, the perfect cup will River Moon Wellness, rivermoonwellness.com. Promo code F2B Blend gets you 50% off of your coffee order today. All right. Antarctica. One of our most requested subjects here on Fade to Black. I don't think after 1,500 shows, 4 shows a week, live, I don't think there has been a week where I have not gotten at least one email that says, Church, we got to do Antarctica. We got to do Antarctica. Now, I try to cover it as often as I can. And I realize that for all of you, it is one of those subjects that we're interested in. And one of the reasons, of course, is that it's difficult to get information. I only know Brad Olson. He's the only person that I know that's been to Antarctica. Got a few people out there that claim they've been there, but no, as far as somebody that's been there, is taking the pictures and everything else, Brad Olson. And even Brad came away. He tried to get info. He didn't find out much. It is tough. So it's a big mystery. And there are other parts to Antarctica for me that make it even more mysterious. And if we go back to the Perry-Reese map, okay? The Perry-Reese map, even its origins are unknown, but it's been around for a long, long time. Antarctica wasn't discovered, wasn't seen until 1817, somewhere in there. It's my memory, so save the email if I'm off by a year or 10. But around 1817, by the Russians. And they got a boat, and they're down there, and they see Antarctica for the first time. They come back, and they say, hey, there's something down there. Nobody knew it was a continent, but they saw the shoreline, right? Okay. The Perry-Reese map showed Antarctica as we know it today, like the modern version of Antarctica, like 500 years before. And the origins of the Perry-Reese map, which some think, I'm not going to speak on the Perry-Reese map for 20 minutes. There's no reason for that. But that it was a copy of a copy that came out of the Middle East. Okay? But how is it possible that when the Russians didn't see Antarctica for the first time until 1817, that it showed up on a map that was 500 years older. It doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay, so that's part of, as you dive into Antarctica, that is part of the mystery. For me, this is where my mind goes. The controllers of information have had a safety net with Antarctica that they have taken advantage of. Number one, it's frozen, covered by miles of ice. Okay, so that's the first protection, right? It's covered in ice. The second one is nobody can get there. And even if you do, you're staying on the shoreline. You're not venturing in 1,000 miles on a snowmobile. No, you're not. There's nothing you can do. You can fight, you can scream, all the money in the world. It ain't going to happen. It's just, it's not going to happen. The controllers of information know this. So here's where my imagination goes a little bit wonky. When it comes to Antarctica, we know that we have had movements of land on Earth that quite possibly at one point we had one land mass and the rest of it was water. It broke apart, and due to the shifts in the plates, we now have what we have today. We have Europe, Africa, South America, North America, Canada, Asia, some islands scattered to boot. We have Greenland, right? Okay, so everything broke apart. What about Antarctica? Right? What about Antarctica? Did it float down there? Did it move down there? Was it always down there? What I think, and if I just let my imagination go, that maybe at some point Antarctica was tropical. Maybe it was further north, a lot further north. Maybe it broke off, and it ended up where it is now. But could it have been covered with trees and animals and life? There has been reports. Once you go and dig around, you can find comments, you can find researchers that have said some pretty strange things. Like, we found a palm tree leaf. Whatever, under the ice. And now, how did that get there? It didn't float, right? And so I think that, although it's not talked about, I think that it was populated with us. And this is what the man fears. Global warming, changes in climate are going to melt the snow and ice of Antarctica and reveal something friggin' crazy. I'm talking about crazy. Now, is it going to be the X-Files flying saucer? Is it going to be the Thing revisited? Is it? Well, that's a possibility for sure. That I'm not ruling anything out. But what about a city that has been covered in ice for, and I'm just pulling this out of the air, 250 million years? What if that is found? Now, we can go back to Admiral Byrd and Project High Jump and say, okay, and we could suppose a lot of things, and we could theorize a lot of things. It's a fun subject to talk about. The problem that I have with Admiral Byrd is that the quotes from him, flying machines that could orbit the planet, fly around the planet in a couple hours, and why did he go down there armed, and what the expedition was, and he got ran out of there. And he gave these quotes supposedly to a paper in Argentina, coming back from the expedition. The paper and that article don't really seem to exist. Now, I'm not saying anything. Maybe it's Mandela effect, but depending on Admiral Byrd to have all of the answers with Antarctica, I just don't go there. It's a great story. It's a great story. That's a campfire story. I enjoy the story. Is it historical fact? I don't know. But the strange thing for me, what is historical fact, is that all of these continents, all of these land masses on this planet moved. And they are where they are now because they arrived to the points where they are now. Antarctica has to have done the same thing. And that long ago, and some of this is 25 million years, some of it is 50, some of it's 100, some of it's 250 million, it goes back quite a ways. That maybe Antarctica was the place to live, and it had everything on it. And the man is not even suggesting that as a possibility. And if things start to melt and things start to reveal themselves, it's going to be something crazy. It's going to be something nuts, and it's going to be a game changer. So what's going on in Antarctica? I want to find out. That's why we're doing the show tonight with Pete McCarthy. We're covering the Antarctica mystery. He's done some amazing research, and I'm going to be able to ask the questions tonight, and we are all going to learn something. Very excited about the show tonight. And tomorrow night, we're going to continue the same thing. We're doing science tomorrow night with Chris Plain from the Debris. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. I think we're doing a Clifford Mahouti night on Thursday. Rest in peace, Clifford Mahouti. This show tonight is dedicated to you. I'm all choked up. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the UnX and Game Changer Networks. I'll be right back.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from Rivermoon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all Rivermoon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
The new KUNXDB, the UNX Network, bringing you the best in paranormal programming in premium high-definition streaming audio and video. Log on to the network at unxnetwork.com and check out the growing lineup of programs, including Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and many more. Sign up for the free UNX newsletter, follow the UNX blog, or pick up the latest edition of the UNX magazine. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So check us out at unxnetwork.com. Tap the show page and the calendar so you never miss your favorite live shows and podcasts. We are your portal for all things paranormal. The X, explaining the unexplained.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Pete McCarthy is with us. Tomorrow night, Chris Plain of The Debrief is here. Thursday night's a Fader night that we're going to dedicate to Clifford Mahouti, who left this earth today. And, so that'll be Thursday night. But tonight, it's all about Pete. We're going to be discussing the mystery of Antarctica. Yeah, tonight is truly a not to miss show. Pete is considered to be a master of mystery and antiquary of the arcane, or perhaps just a weirdo. Yeah. A student of the UFO mythology and a dedicated researcher into the ancient mysteries. He has invested decades into probing the unknown and unexplained. Starting as a boy, we're going to discuss this in just a bit, so I'm going to jump past that. I want to find out from Pete directly, but he almost went into the clergy, and we're going to talk about that. He was also the singer of a punk band. We're going to talk about that too as well. But for the past 7 years, he's been the host of Creepy Little Book, a show with a focus on the fringe. Everything from the esoteric to the extraterrestrial, the spiritual, to the supernatural, and everything in between. 3 nights a week, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 1 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. All of his links, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are not only up on social media, but over at jimmychurchradio.com. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Pete McCarthy. Pete, good evening, my man. How you doing?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Jimmy. This is a great opportunity, and I really appreciate it, the privilege. I'm honored.
Oh, man, no, the honor, the privilege is all mine. This is the deal. You're a first-time guest. So you get the first-time guest disclaimer out of the gate. So let's get that out of the way. Pete, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. All right. First-time guest disclaimer is over. Next time you're on the show, you ain't going to get it. But you got it tonight. So a very colorful growing up, and I look at that, and that right there is an entire show in of itself. But let's start as a young boy. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. It's not the town that it used to be, but hey, what town is? I think I've got really fond memories of growing up, and I could trace all this back to those early years. My mother used to take me to the library all the time, and as a kid, I got lost amidst the tales of folklore and legends and mythologies. And before you know it, I found myself comparatively studying religions and the occult and the esoteric. All of that became such a fascination for me. And I think I owe that to, the encouragement of reading that I got at such an early age.
What was it? Family? Was it friends? Or was it your own curiosity that pulled you in this direction?
I think it was my own curiosity. And I think, there's also, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit, the religious aspect to it as well. I think when your mind is open to various supernatural possibilities as a matter of faith, then you open the door to a wider world of phenomenon.
Did you have a couple of different questions here? They're all related, but did you have a UFO sighting or a contact experience when you were a kid?
Never. I've never had my own personal experience with extraterrestrials or even the paranormal.
And what about the spiritual side?
Well, the spiritual aspect to me, I think, is a journey. I think the spiritual aspect of the world plays to our hopes and our fears. It's something that we all try to understand through the various manifestations that it presents itself in our world, whether that be its earliest forms in the semblance of animism, up through the eras of the shamans, to the priestly classes of the ancient world, holding the secrets of such thing as brewing beer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the best beer and wine. Your local church. I mean, that's that even goes back into ancient Egypt as well. Okay, so to suggest here as I just did with the audience, that you were headhunted for the clergy. Who was doing the headhunting?
Oh, it was the local seminary. I had been fortunate enough to have a 12-year parochial education. And I also went to an all-boys Catholic high school. So the seminary was not about to let good talent slip through their fingers. And in my senior year, they had taken in a group of us who had excelled in religious studies for the purpose of speaking to young recruiters from the seminary. So they made an attempt to try to talk me into the lifestyle, but, I ended up going in the other direction with the calling to be a musician.
Did you? We're going to talk about that too as well. And you could have been the punk rock father, right?
I could have been.
You could have been that dude. You could have been with that priestly collar and some nice chains and Doc Martens. It's got a look.
I don't know. I don't know if the bishops would have been okay with something like that. Maybe these days, who knows?
There must have been a singer. I'm seeing that imagery. Somebody must have done it at some point. But okay, but this is for me. This is where it gets really interesting. As you're reading and studying, when you're doing this throughout school, you have to do your studies. You get tested. You're doing the deep dives. You're taking verses and picking them apart and the true meaning of this and your opinions and how you feel these words are having meaning to others and what they mean. So you're going through all of that. Did you ever start to scratch your head and go, I don't know, this doesn't feel right to me?
Of course. I mean, I think there's a period of time when, you do question those kind of things, especially at that age. You start to question everything. You're going against all authority, at some point. And this religious authority would be no different in that regard, especially when it's such a huge, pervasive part of your life at that point.
Did you question your teachers? Were you that guy in class?
Yes. I did. I had a really great priest who was a teacher. There was a Father Merchant, and there was also a Father Kelly. Father Kelly was great with theology. He was just an expert with it. And he was a hard priest, like he was an old type of priest. He was an older man at the time, but he was a great instructor. And he just had a way of making theological concepts make sense. Now, on the other hand, Father Merchant had a wooden sword, and if you got out of line, he'd give you a crack with it.
Mm-hmm. Now, and when you start to question things, were there specifics that you could? For me, I remember just to give you an idea. It was second grade. And I was at St. Teresa in North Chicago, Catholic school, and public school, but a Catholic school. I think, so long ago, but it was called St. Teresa. And I remember going to and we had to listen to these Bible stories on tape, right? And we'd go to the library and we'd listen to these different things. And I remember going to Mrs. Cunningham, my second grade teacher, going, now, okay, so Jesus, he's in a cave. His body's in a cave. And then they open up the door and he's gone. I don't understand how that. What do you mean he rose and I was like 6 years old, but it wasn't making sense to me. I didn't understand it. Were you doing the same thing?
I don't think so. I think much later on, it was for me questions of how these concepts work. But as far as like challenging it at such a young age, no. I at that tender age, I bought into all of it, hook, line, and sinker.
You did?
Oh, absolutely.
I remember another incident. I'm listening to this story. We had to take a test. Right, and there was always a test after you listened to the tape, and it was the story about Moses and the raft, right, and being discovered in the Nile, and I was like, I did, how did this happen? And I remember specifically like getting yelled at and being disruptive, and I didn't mean to be. But I just didn't get it. How did they find him? Why was he just floating down the river? What oh man. and I got in a lot of trouble. And I was just young. I didn't understand it. And I wasn't buying it hook, line, and sinker like you're saying you did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I was a young kid, it was all a matter of mystery to me. And it's still, to this day, it's a huge mystery to me. The theology, the culture, the impact that it's had on history. It's like what we believe shapes the world as much as the world shapes the things we believe in.
Sure.
And I've always kind of, leaned into that direction.
Now, and then you go watch like Dogma, and by Kevin Smith. And that, to me, Dogma, the way that, I could have written and directed that film because that was always, my take on things, the Dogma over the years. But now here's the other part. With all of your vast knowledge of religious studies, and then we bring in ufology, UFOs, ET, contact, ancient aliens, and start to look at some of the stories with the Bible and what we understand today, what ET may be. Do you see those connections?
I see those connections not only biblically, but going back even farther to the first monotheistic faith of Zoroastrianism.
Right.
Zoroaster is much like Abraham in the fact that he is out in the wilderness and contacted by a divine being. And that contact forever changes the course of human history. Zoroastrianism would be the foundation that the Persian Empire was built upon. Likewise, we would see Christianity go and become the faith by which all Western civilization built itself upon. So I think that there were these encounters in ancient times with something people did not understand, something that was so ineffable that they tried to convey it in ways that spoke to their religious sensibilities. And that was evident for Zoroaster in the beginning, and I think as much could be said for Abraham.
Do you start to equate a few things, because we understand we have a pretty solid base of knowledge today, technically and historically, and when Moses is going to a mountaintop and communicating with God, coming down with the Ten Commandments, that feels like channeling to me. Right, it feels like there's the angels brought this information to us, and that feels ET-ish there, and it just seems like, and the heavens and the stars, right? All of that speaks to the solar system and the universe, as opposed to a bunch of angels, with golden harps, living in the clouds.
Yeah, there's this blurry line between what could be considered a celestial being, like an angel, or an extraterrestrial being, like an alien. I think there's a very fuzzy line there, and I think we can see that paralleled in what we know of from reports regarding the abduction phenomenon, as well as what we know of from people's encounters with demonic entities, with these kind of non-human intelligences, these non-corporeal beings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I believe these things roam the wastelands and the countrysides. If you're gonna try to nail down what these things actually are, I've done these studies into demonology, and going back to the Testament of Solomon, we're talking about mastery over these kind of non-human intelligences who have supernatural powers over nature.
And if we continue down that line, where not only is this a biblical reference, but it is in all cultures that weren't necessarily Christian as well, where these same exact references are there.
That's absolutely the case. You've got Assyrian and Babylonian and Akkadian demonology that predates a lot of what we even know of the monotheistic faiths. This demonology is rich in its tradition and its understanding of what these kind of entities are. And I think that, we're not alone on this planet. And whether we call them ultra-terrestrials or demons or angels or ghosts, there's something else that we share this world with. I think sometimes it snatches people up, never to be seen again, but these stories of folklore, like the Fae folk that we get from Scandinavian and Germanic histories, of these like Celtic gods like the Tuatha De Danann, who were incredible beings of supernatural power and ability. Where's that line drawn between alien intervention and some other species we may share the planet with? It's a blurry one indeed. But I think it's all interconnected.
Yeah. Yes. And then and the ones that we know of that are part of pop culture, I should say. That's one thing. And then you get outside of that, and you get into China and Asia and that part of the world, including Australia and the Aborigines, and then jump over to Central and South America. And North America, where these conversations are the exact same things.
Absolutely. Even in regard to, and you mentioned Australia, and that's a part of the South Pole mystery, even in and of itself. There were great thinkers in the ancient times who postulated on the existence of this fabled continent.
Now, in my opening rant, I talked about the Perry Reese map, And that's the map that we know of, but it's not the earliest map, and it's not the only map that has depicted Antarctica and other places that weren't discovered for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I find that very, very compelling. Now, the Perry Reese map and other maps at the time, that topography was coming out of the Middle East. And, you know, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and all of the Mediterranean countries right there were all doing maps at that time. And some of them get really tremendously old, depicting Antarctica. Now, Antarctica, technically, if we go with the historical dogma, right, wasn't discovered until 1817 by the Russians. And they didn't even go ashore. They just saw it and came back and reported about but that wasn't until 1817. Well, how can it be that other cultures talked about this continent and depicted it, some of it with amazing accuracy and detail, by the way, 400 or 500 years before the Russians made the discovery in 1817?
You know what? I've really kind of postulated on that over the years as I've delved into this Antarctica thing. And there could be genetic memory that we're talking about, or something that lingered from an earlier time. You know, there's some far out stuff that suggests all kinds of wild ideas about the Southern Pole and what may have occurred there over the ancient past. And I heard in your opening, you mentioned the tropical nature of Antarctica.
Yes.
And that's one that I firmly believe in as well, that at one time we were dealing with a lush tropical paradise. You know, they have found dinosaur fossils on Antarctica. So we know at one time the climate there was vastly different than it was now. There was a pole shift of some kind over the course of the millions of years that this continent has existed untouched at the bottom of the world. Untouched as far as we know.
And a continental drift and shift.
Right.
As well, and now, in which even that was fought. I mean, fought by educators, professionals, until the 1950s. Right? I mean, and if anybody wants to go and look into this, now the theories were laid out, but even anybody that looks at a globe at a young age, you kind of look at it and you go, wow, these kind of all fit together. And if you kind of look, wait a minute here, everything just kind of fits together like a puzzle. That's not rocket science, but it was fought until 1955.
Oh, it's incredible, the kind of discoveries that have been kind of brought to light with their, you know, kicking and screaming, dragging their heels as much as possible. You know, it's par for the course with the scientific community, I think, to not want to be too sure about anything at any given moment. You got to leave the door open to new possibilities, because science constantly evolves and our understanding of it is ever changing.
Yeah. Science is nothing but one long chain of corrections. If you're in that field, you better have thick skin, because you're going to be proven wrong. whatever it is you're working at, somebody later is going to prove you wrong. And that's how science evolves. It's really that simple. Now, we're going to head to a break here. Let's get back to your religious studies. How have you applied that to your research into Antarctica?
Well, coincidentally, the Antarctica research does touch upon the major faiths of the Abrahamic religions, the Vatican, Patriarch Cyril of the Russian Orthodox Church, and the Ethiopian Tewahedo Orthodox Church, all kind of come into contact here in the Antarctica mythology. So there is a certain religious aspect to all of it that I think my fortunate upbringing and studies and preparation for this kind of research really lends itself to.
Now, what is the difference between Abrahamic, and the Vatican?
Well, of course, Abraham founds the religion of monotheism known as Judaism. And out of Abraham comes, the other great faiths of Christianity and Islam. These are humongous denominations that trace their root back to the Abrahamic faith. The Vatican, on the other hand, is the seat of the Roman Catholic Church, wherein they believe their foundation was instituted in 33 AD by Christ himself. So as far as denominations go, they do claim lineage back to the apostolic succession of the original apostles and disciples of Christ.
Why do you think, and this is a legitimate question, I'm not a religious scholar, but the Catholic Bible, King James, any version of that you want to look at, still has the Old Testament in it, which has Abraham in it and Genesis. Mm-hmm. And that side of things, and I have always myself considered it to be one and the same, because the communication about it happens out of the same book, no matter where you're at.
It could be. There are some books that are in the Latin Vulgate that are not found in the King James Bible. The Protestant Reformation removed a few of the books of the Bible out of there, most notably the book of Maccabees from the Old Testament.
Right.
That's where we get the Hanukkah story from, the Maccabees Rebellion. So there are some elements that and I always recommend, if you're interested in the Bible, get yourself a copy of each. I personally have a King James and a Dewey Reams, because I find the biblical stories fascinating. The scriptures are very compelling. They're not all, they don't really make sense compared to a lot of our modern sensibilities in a lot of ways. But the tradition, the history, the mystery is all there, and it has been for generation unto generation for thousands and thousands of years now.
Yeah, there's no question in that they all make a great movie. And with that, we'll take our first break. Our guest tonight, Pete McCarthy, talking about the Antarctica mystery. So when we come back, we're going to start our deep dive. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Pete and the Antarctica mystery after this short break on the Game Changer and UnX networks. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're both the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Pete McCarthy is with us. We're discussing the Antarctica mystery. Yeah, man, I was just over in the chat room during the break. You guys are amazing, and thank you. I need socks. You guys are making sure that I have socks, and that is a very, very cool thing. Thank you so much. Now, Pete, you used to be a singer. Oh, you're still a singer in a punk band of all things. That's true. Now we're not. I know what everybody's saying. Jimmy, we're supposed to be talking Antarctica. I am. There is a connection here. Does the punk lifestyle apply to your research? In that you don't give a crap. You're going to go where the information takes you, and you're going to be a rebel.
Always has been. I think the whole do-it-yourself aesthetic has really helped been a big foundational aspect of how I do what I do. You know, it was like I saw a hole in the way that this content was created, and I decided to go out and try to do it myself. And that's kind of what happened 7 years ago when I started the Creepy Little Book, and it's something that I've kind of carried on throughout it. I always feel like this information goes where it goes, whether it ties into defense contractors or pharmaceutical companies, or who's supplying these Antarctica bases with what they need. How is that tied into the space program? I've never been afraid to look into that direction.
Do you research with the Misfits shirt on?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. Now, what? There's a few things because we need to. I want to start in the now before we go backwards. But in the now, you heard my opening comments, and I feel that the man has had two things to protect them about Antarctica. One is covered in ice. We don't know what's underneath it, allegedly, right? But and we don't have the ability to go down there and check things out for ourselves, right?
You're absolutely right.
And the man knows this, right? Now, what will happen if the ice starts to melt and things start to expose themselves? Will those secrets of Antarctica make it north, right? Or are they going to keep that secret?
I believe, personally, they would do everything they could to keep such a discovery secret.
Why?
I think it would rewrite human history.
That's right.
Absolutely rewrite human history.
What is it, as I want to stay in the now, what is it that you think may be underneath that ice?
According to a lot of the research that I've looked into and the speculations and rumors about Antarctica, it could be nothing less than a secret city.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And if we go into that direction, how old would that city be?
Millions of years old at this point. Millions of years. Now, according to the Heffernan manuscript, this was floating around in a 30-page form in the early 30s. The Heffernan manuscript spoke of 7 cities that existed in Antarctica, the Rainbow City being the greatest of all of them. And the interesting thing about the Heffernan manuscript is it does reference unidentified flying objects prior to the Mount Rainier sighting of 1947. So I've always found that compelling.
What's the name of this script again?
The Heffernan manuscript.
The Heffernan manuscript. Somebody get that up to me in Twitter so I can get over and get the reference to it. So I'm assuming it was written by Heffernan.
Yeah, they were a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, they were a couple. They had produced this manuscript talking about portals and gateways to this secret city that was constructed by none other than Martian refugees who had come to the planet Earth after the destruction of their world to set up shop in a tropical Antarctica.
Now, was this written, what was the basis for this? Was it a scientific paper or was it a story?
They were typewritten and handwritten copies of a manuscript that were circulated by this couple from Livingston, Montana, at the latest in the 40s. They first heard of the Rainbow City in Antarctica sometime in the year 1940, and they didn't believe it right away. Heffernan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Heffernan claims that he designed a flying circular wing plane before flying saucers became news in 1947.
The Heffernan manuscript. Okay, for some reason. Okay, so Heffernan manuscript. Okay, so let's. Okay, here it is right here. Okay, I've got it. Okay, very interesting. Now, what we were talking about the religious side of this earlier too as well. Did any of the Heffernan manuscript correlate back to religious text?
No, the Heffernan manuscript does not. The Heffernan manuscript stands on its own. It's in some ways it's comparable to the Shaver Mystery that was being published by Ray Palmer.
Right.
And they were doing their best to try to set themselves apart from Ray Palmer at the same time.
Okay, I have it here. Gladys Heffernan and W.C. Heffernan, Borderland Science Research Foundation. And very interesting. Okay, so I can actually pull this up. I am going to... and you said this was 30 pages?
If in some formats it was 30 pages, in others it was 60. I don't think it was ever completed. They said it was 160 pages in total, but I don't think they ever completed all 160 pages.
Okay, so where did the references come to them for circular wing craft, which sounds like flying saucers to me? And where did their sources come from?
Their sources came directly from the Rainbow City in Antarctica.
No, help me. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm understanding. They got their material from where? The Rainbow City? What? I don't understand.
Right. According to them, they were contacted by denizens of this Rainbow City.
Continue.
I don't know if this was a channeling kind of situation,
Right.
which I kind of speculate that it was, but I don't know if they would have called it channeling back in the 40s. I don't think that term was still, I don't think that term had been coined yet, but I think this is very comparable to channeled information. So they received direct information via this extraterrestrial intelligence, informing them of the existence of a Martian refugee colony that had come to the Earth millions of years ago to escape the destruction on Mars. In this exchange of information, they were told about portals that existed that would be able to transport people to this Rainbow City should they be worthy enough to be able to live there.
And you said there were 6 other cities in addition to the Rainbow City?
Correct. Each city stood on its own. I don't know. And this is comparable to the mountain ranges of Antarctica as well, because there's a 7-pointed mountain range in Antarctica that's kind of unique. It's a unique feature. So maybe there's some reference between these 7 mountains and these 7 cities, but there's supposed to be 6 that were constructed, plus the glorious Rainbow City, which was the pristine capital of them all. But yeah, a total of 6 cities.
Okay, what happened to the Rainbow City? I want to move on, but I'm very intrigued with this. What happened to those cultures?
Some, it's still inhabited
under the ice.
Well, I don't know if the Rainbow City itself is under the ice. It very well may not be.
Now, okay, that was my question about 3 minutes ago, so I'm going to ask it now. Do you have a general idea of the location, and how much time have you spent on Google Earth?
I wish I had a general idea of the location of the Rainbow City. I would surmise that if it was on Google Earth, it would be one of those nice blurry areas that we find on the map. You know, that's where we stitch the picture together. So that's where you'll find, of course, 10 miles of blurriness. So I wouldn't trust too many of those sites to provide an accurate representation of what might be going on down there.
And how much time have you spent on Google Earth?
A fair amount of time.
Yeah, when I'm on Google Earth, I look at the houses that I grew up in, right, 50 years ago. I was going, and then I just spin that thing around, and I'm on Antarctica. Just moving along, and I have seen some strange things. It's things that don't make any sense.
Every once in a while, somebody will email me coordinates for Antarctica just to show me something that they might have come across in their own research. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Things that look like crashed craft, things that look like tanks that may be stationed out there for what purpose. You know, things that appear to be gateways into mountainsides, even things that resemble alien faces in the ice.
Yes, I've seen those too as well. Yep. I've seen a couple of entrances that in the middle of nowhere, by the way, hundreds and hundreds of miles from any research station. I've seen 2 of these. I've seen a hatch, an open hatch. It's a hatch, and it's in Google Earth, and it's big. It's a hatch. It's open, and you can see the hinges, and you can see the entrance. And I don't know where that's going, but it's in Google Earth. And I started to see so much of this that I stopped posting it on the net. Right? It's just like it's too much, and it's not a photoshopped image. These are images you can go and see for yourself right there in Google Earth. and it's everywhere. And Antarctica is so big, it just takes forever to make any headway. But I try to do it as much as I can.
Yeah, it is. It's a very compelling place. It's such a source of mystery and majesty. You know, it's a frozen desert. The most alien climate on the planet is Antarctica. And whether or not that is the fact of the matter, or that's just what we see, are there pockets of tropical areas somewhere out there in that frozen wasteland?
Now,
could we fly over and perhaps see woolly mammoth grazing in an open plain somewhere in a puddle in the ice? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Now, where has when you started to do your research into this? Did you start from one point of reference? Where did you start?
I think for me, it all started about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, the Antarctica story was really sizzling hot. People were very curious about what was going on down there. We had our Secretary of State was down there. Buzz Aldrin went down there. There was the patriarch of the Russian Church goes down there. After a meeting with the Pope, the first time these two offices had met in 1,000 years. And there's all this kind of intrigue that goes on surrounding this story. So I really started when things were popping off down there about 5 years ago.
And where did that take you?
Well, it leads from a construction crane accident in Saudi Arabia that killed 107 people, wounding 250. From there, it leads all the way back to a Russian Orthodox church called the Church of the Holy Trinity in Antarctica. And it's a long, twisting road of secrets and mystery that gets us there.
Okay, hold on. Let's start with the crane in the desert in Saudi Arabia. Okay.
So we're in Saudi Arabia. It's September of 2015. And apparently, while a construction crew was working on an area near the Kaaba in Mecca, they made the discovery of an object. When they attempted to move this object, some kind of electrical discharge takes place and kills the 15-man crew who discovers it. At the same time, whether from this device or from the heavens themselves, a lightning strike hits a construction crane, which topples over and kills 107, wounding 250 people.
Keep going.
This is the official story.
Okay, and did you know, I was saving this for you tonight, that's why I didn't do it in the news today, that right now in Dubai, as you and I are talking, okay, in real time, that there is a 555.55 black diamond that is going up for auction. Now, what is interesting, this is Dubai. It was discovered in Saudi Arabia. It's a black diamond. It's naturally faceted with 55 facets. It naturally weighs 555.55 grams. And it comes from, are you ready? A meteorite.
Holy smokes.
Now, this is going down right now. Going back to what you just mentioned with the construction crane, this stuff is going down in Saudi Arabia. And you can go and read about this 555.55, the magical number, right? In Islam, the number 5, and then you have this 555.55, right, with 55 natural facets. You look at it, it's not a rock, it's a faceted diamond as big as your fist.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's going up for auction, and it came from a meteorite. Wasn't formed here on Earth. So there you go. Okay, so all of this is connected. Let's get back to the crane. Okay, so those that discovered this object all died in this crane accident.
All struck dead. So a second attempt was to be made to move this object again. This time, 2,000 pilgrims were killed at the Hajj. Now, the official reports of death say they were due to stampede and crushing, but survivors were reported as saying that the crowds were running from something. So something caused this panic in this crowd. Anyway, the Russian government is called in to help move this object. Finally, they need help. So Vladimir Putin sends a Russian Federation research vessel down to the port of Jahida. And this occurs in December of 2015. Now, for the first time in 1,000 years, in February 2nd of 2016, Popes Francis and Patriarch Kirill of the Russian Orthodox Church meet in Havana, Cuba. They exchanged what was believed to be an ancient manuscript pertaining to this object that was discovered in Saudi Arabia, and this manuscript gives the object a name, calling it the Ark of Gabriel.
The Ark of what? Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Now,
yes.
okay, wait a minute. We all know about the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
Okay, so when you say Ark of Gabriel, same type of object?
We could be talking about a very similar object.
Okay,
could be talking about a very similar object.
Okay, you've got
Ark
my
of
attention.
Gabriel.
The Ark of Gabriel. I've never heard of the Ark of Gabriel.
Neither had I.
Okay, that was my question. Had you heard? You're the religious scholar. You never heard of
no, I never heard of this thing until all this went down back in 2015, 2016. Had never heard of the Ark of Gabriel, never came across it in my life. But this manuscript was allegedly written by none other than the Watchers, the fallen angels of the Book of Enoch. So 2 weeks go by, and we find the Russian Patriarch is in Antarctica at the same time that the Russian Federation research vessel has been carrying this Ark of Gabriel to Antarctica for.
Now, wait. Stop. Did you okay? Let's recap this thing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Object is found in Saudi Arabia, 2015. Construction workers died. The Hajj, which is in Mecca, the Hajj is the pilgrimage of Islam, going to go touch a meteorite. By the way, right? That is sitting in the corner. And that's all worn out. But that's what the Hajj. 2,000 people die at the Hajj. I remember all of these reports. A stampede. You're saying that they ran from something. This object.
That's what some reports say.
Right. Now, the Saudis reach out to Vladimir. Exactly. Vladimir sends assistance to recover this object. At the same time, a member of the Russian Orthodox Church meets with the Pope in Havana, Cuba. He has a manuscript that he hands to the member of the Russian Orthodox Church that describes the object, and the name of the object is the Ark of Gabriel. And then, just so I'm understanding here, that the object is now on a Russian ship and is on its way to Antarctica.
That's right.
And then the Russian representative of the Russian Orthodox Church 2 weeks later hightails it to Antarctica as well.
Exactly.
You know, this is crazy talk. This is awesome. Okay.
You know, I always say this, Jimmy. I don't believe in 85% of the stuff I talk about. It's the 15% that I do believe in that's absolutely bananas.
That's the crazy. The rest of it is just fluff, man. It's filler. I'm so with you on that. It's the 1%, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay. So, which Russian research station was this going to?
This was going to the Russian Orthodox Holy Trinity Church, a church that is one of the few that exists on the continent.
Okay, continue. We got 2 minutes to the break. I'm going to look this up really quick. Okay, so what happens next?
At this point, the Russian Patriarch Cyril performs an ancient ritual from this manuscript over the Ark of Gabriel before Russian commandos take it deeper into the frozen continent, never to be seen again.
Okay. How big is this church in Antarctica?
Oh, it's pretty tiny.
And I'm assuming it's on a coastline, right? Because the freighter's got to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't get this up. I'm gonna get this up in Google Maps during. I've got to look at this church. This is incredible. Okay, so why would they send? And we'll talk about this after the break. Why would they send the Ark of Gabriel to Antarctica?
That is a great question. Why? But where else to imprison a device of such incredible power than somewhere where it couldn't lash out and keep killing people? That's the only thing I can think of. You know, when we talk about the Ark of the Covenant specifically, those who were unworthy to touch it would die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we talk about this Ark of Gabriel, they tried to move it, kills a 15-man crew, kills 107 people with a crane crash, 250 wounded, 2,000 pilgrims get crushed at the Hajj.
Right.
You know, we're talking about a big body count on this thing, and it's you know, they dig it out of the ground in September of 2015, and it isn't until February they're finally dealing with it, you know, down in Havana, Cuba, where they're exchanging ancient manuscripts that have been supposedly written by fallen angels concerning the existence of this object.
Let's take our break right here. I'm absolutely fascinated. Our guest tonight, Pete McCarthy. We're talking about the Antarctica mystery. We're doing it all tonight. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Pete when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church, and I personally invite you to the 2022 Conscious Life Expo this February 4th through the 7th, live at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This year, we have the most exciting speakers, including Whitley Strieber, Adam Apollo, Billy Carson, Daryl Anka and Bashar, William Henry, Caroline Corey, Susan Slaughter, Daniel Brinkley, JJ and Desiree Hertog, Sarah Breskman Cosme, George Norrie, Gail Thackeray, and many, many more. I will be hosting all weekend long, including the keynote Ancient Secrets panel on Friday night, 5 vendor and exhibit halls, 3 floors of speakers, panels, and celebration. This is the biggest event of the year, and early bird passes are available now. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for the schedule, speakers, and information. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Pete McCarthy is with us. We are talking about the Antarctica mystery. And I've got to do a little bit of a recap. And I did some stuff here during the break, Pete. Now, why am I the last person to hear about the Ark of Gabriel? I'm now looking at it. And this is truly a thing. Now, okay, so this is a recent massacre in Ethiopia is believed to be related to the Ark of the Covenant, a biblical object with strange powers that has been duplicated in different societies, as well as a similar object only made known in recent years, the Ark of Gabriel, a heavenly weapon that the Archangel Gabriel instructed care to Muhammad, which may have been the cause of 2 massacres at Mecca in 2015 when attempts were made to remove it from its resting place there. The Ark of Gabriel is a thing.
Yeah. And I was obsessed over whether or not this thing was real. That became a month's long obsession for me. I spent 3 to 4 months digging around to see if such a thing ever existed.
Okay, and what did you find out?
I found out that I was losing my mind, but along the way, I found a kernel of truth, a crumb of what I needed. Because I said to myself, where can I look for this? Where in all the world is there a convergence of all these faiths? Where is the possibility that such a thing could have existed? And that brought me right to Ethiopia. Ethiopia was once home to a great Christian kingdom called Aksum. And Aksum was burned in the 9th century by a beta Israeli queen they called Gudit, which meant fire, because she was all about sacking and burning kingdoms. Like, she rode in with her warriors. They burned everything to a crisp, even the prisons with the prisoners still inside. But during this time period, there was a sacred spot in this kingdom. And it was considered sacred ever since this time in the 9th century for the people who had died there defending whatever they were defending. But someone was said to have snuck away with an object to a small group of islands and hid there until the danger had passed. In the 1880s, a church would be built on this sacred site in Ethiopia called the Church of St. Gabriel. And I believe that this church was a reference to the fact that the Ark of Gabriel was kept in this kingdom of Aksum up until the 9th century, perhaps hidden at that point, only to be discovered at some point when Muslim invaders would come in the 16th century and return with this object to Mecca, bringing it back, waiting for it to be discovered in 2015 by the dig crew that would be killed by trying to move it.
Have you seen? I've just looked at a couple of pictures purported to be the Ark of Gabriel in Mecca. Have you seen any imaging?
I have never seen an image of the purported Ark of Gabriel.
Right.
I've seen Ron Wyatt's pictures of the Ark of the Covenant that's supposed to be buried under Israel, but
right, yeah, we've all seen those. I miss that guy. He was pretty cool. You know the crazy thing about Ron Wyatt? I have claustrophobia. Like, I am not going to go and crawl into a cave, right, that I can barely fit into. I'm not going to crawl underneath a building. I'm not going to. No. He did it.
Oh, you got it. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, he did it like every day. Those videos of his make my skin crawl, man. I'm just uncomfortable. Yeah. He was incredible. Okay, so back to this. How did it? Okay, are you saying you said Muslim invaders into Ethiopia brought the
Muslim invaders in Ethiopia? They come in the 16th century, and I believe that at this point they carry off the object known as the Ark of Gabriel back to Mecca.
Now, and why would they? Why? It's been described as a weapon. Is that why they would intentionally bury it? Because you would, die if you touched it or encountered it?
That's my only, line of thinking when it comes to it, that it must have been some type of heavenly weapon, that there must contain something that's able to discharge incredible amounts of energy. And whether this goes back to ancient times and the idea that maybe people had electrical power in the ancient past, maybe there's some way they were able to generate these incredible amounts of energy. When we think about things like the pyramids being power plants, when we think about things like the Ark of the Covenant and its ability to strike dead those who were unworthy to put their hands to it,
right?
Was this ancient high technology? I don't put that out of the question. Could this technology be left over from a time when we talk about pre-Adamites living in Antarctica? When we talk about civilizations like Atlantis, another thing that's been leveled against Antarctica, that perhaps it was the home of Atlantis, So I do believe in at least an antediluvian world that was ripe with incredible technologies. And this Ark of Gabriel could very well be one of them.
Now, it appears, if we go back to the timeline that you were able to piece together, it appears that the Vatican has known about the Ark of Gabriel this whole time.
Absolutely.
Right? And you had never heard of it. Have you been able to, I don't know if Father Kelly's still around, Father Merchant.
No, unfortunately, no.
Do you have connections back into the seminary or an ability to contact a religious scholar and ask him about the Ark of Gabriel?
I have in the past reached out to some Jesuit priests for some answers, but they're a little reticent to talk to me once they find out what I do.
Sure.
So,
well, no, it's the punk.
It is kind of tough to get the good clergy on.
Yeah, it's the punk stuff. It has nothing to do with UFOs. But I do have a couple of friends in this community that are religious scholars, and Marzelli being one. And Timothy Alberino is another that I think we should reach out to. Marzulli probably, in my circles, knows more about the Watchers than just about anybody. He's done a lot of movies and documentaries about them too, as well. And to have a book of the Watchers that talks about this. That's okay. So now, let me back up for a second. Muhammad, we're talking about 700 AD?
Roughly.
Okay, right. Hey, I almost sound like I know what I'm talking about. So, Gabriel gave him this weapon in 700 AD? But the Book of the Watchers, that's got to go back 2,000 years or more.
Oh, that would go back to time immemorial.
Right,
that goes back to the earliest days after the fall.
Right.
So, we're talking about something that would had to have been either recopied or preserved from that time, from the time of the flood.
Right.
So, would this manuscript have been on Noah's Ark? It could have been.
Right.
Who knows what was preserved on the Ark? I liken it to the story of Gilgamesh and Utnapishtim, where Gilgamesh goes to find the survivor of the Great Flood who was gifted with immortality for living through it. And what he brought back with him was writing. That was the secret Gilgamesh brings back. I can write down the story of what I've just experienced.
Right.
So perhaps this manuscript, this ancient manuscript that was in the possession of the Vatican, that made its way to the Russian Orthodox Church so they could go down and do the ritual over the enigmatic Ark of Gabriel to perhaps silence it or quell its power, so they could be taken into Antarctica and maybe studied there.
Now,
maybe taken apart. Who
now,
knows?
I'm also looking at the Trinity Church on St. George Island down in Antarctica. I'm going to say this: beautiful. That's a nice looking church.
Very small.
It's very small.
Very small.
It looks like it looks like something out of Lord of the Rings, a fairy tale.
It does.
And
it is beautiful, but it's very small.
So you think that is where the Ark is?
I think they took the Ark there specifically to do a ritual over it, and then they took the rest of it into the continent.
Now, let's oh man, what kind of ritual?
This could be anything. This could be something left over from antediluvian times. So who knows the nature of the ritual? That's interesting in and of itself. We're talking about a ritual that could predate Judaism.
Now, I didn't expect any of this on the show tonight, and I enjoy learning things for the first time, but having my mind completely blown right now. It's only because Pete, and you know me, I do a lot of research, and I interview an awful lot of people, and for me to find out about something as significant as this for the first time on a broadcast, this is why I do Fade to Black. But everything that I have just researched on my own during this conversation correlates everything that you said today. And why aren't people talking about this?
I have no idea. I mean, I think what happened is that for the most part, news about Antarctica just fizzled out. The only thing we get from the mainstream regarding what's happening on the frozen continent is weather news, environmental stuff. Oh, the ice shelves are moving, or there's not as much snow as there used to be. But that's not true, because they did Operation Ice Bridge back in 2015 and 2016, where they flew satellites over both the poles, and they found that the snow covering was replacing the ice melt that was happening in Antarctica.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about that on Fade to Black back when I had read the same research that, yes, the ice is melting, but it's being replaced, and there's more now there than there was before. And I'm like, man, I don't know what to believe anymore. Right? It's
yeah, I'm right there with you. Who knows? I mean, you can question the mainstream narrative all day and night, but who knows for sure? Because we can't get down there. There's that great story of the 2002 film crew that went to Antarctica and supposedly vanished.
Yes.
Now, I found that to be bunk in my own research. But the idea of it isn't far beyond the pale of people vanishing on the continent. I mean, who's out there to come save you?
Now, why do you think that the Ark of Gabriel in that timing of 2015 and everything else that went down, including, when I say went down, there was a lot of action in Antarctica, like you stated earlier, but it all happened at the same time. Were they all going to St. George Island? Were they all going to the Trinity Church?
See, that's really interesting, because you're all right. There was a lot going on down there. By November 15th of 2016, John Kerry, who was at the time Secretary of State, was out of the country on election day in Antarctica.
Right.
Then on November 29th of 2016, you got Buzz Aldrin leaving for Antarctica. This tweet comes out with a picture of a pyramid that says we're all doomed. It's pure evil. Then the tweet is suddenly deleted. Now, I don't know if the tweet was bunked to begin with or bogus.
Right.
I lean in the direction that it was probably a fraudulent tweet because it was up and gone so fast. But whatever happened, Buzz Aldrin's taken to New Zealand for an emergency situation with fluid in his lungs. Why is an 86-year-old man down in Antarctica considering all these harsh conditions? What was he down there to see? By November 23rd of 2016, rumors spread that there's 3 pyramids have been discovered in Antarctica. This leads to speculation about ET construction, ruins of advanced pre-human civilizations, and even the lost city of Atlantis.
Right.
Well, then these other rumors come in about an alien race down there known as the Guardians, and that John Kerry went to try to talk to them without permission or without being invited. And for this transgression against their protocols, these alien beings caused a 7.8 Christchurch, New Zealand earthquake where John Kerry was staying before returning to Washington, D.C. as a warning not to trespass on their territory again.
In of itself, each one of those incidents doesn't mean much. Right? Put it all together and you've got something. I had mentioned earlier. Now let's back up. Let's talk about Admiral Byrd. It's so many go and reference Operation High Jump, which was real. That operation happened. Those ships, those the military, the armaments, the flyover, the attempted flyover. The shortening of said expedition, all of that are part of the historical record. What actually went down there and what was actually seen, that's the part that is the real mystery. And I know that you heard my comments about his interview in the Argentine, it was Argentina, the newspaper. So what do you think happened with Admiral Byrd?
Well, so interestingly enough, the Piri Reis map shows Queen Maud Land, which would later come to be known as New Swabia after the Germans get down there in World War II.
That is correct.
In 1938, German scientists, soldiers, and research crews set up here and discover caves that descend 30 miles into the earth. Here they apparently discover ancient alien technology, or they make contact with an extraterrestrial, whether that's the Greys or the reptilians or the denizens of the hollow earth. But they make some kind of contact and create some kind of technology that had not existed on this planet until this moment. Operation High Jump was said to be the last siege against this base known as Base 211. And according to some stories, 3 nuclear warheads were dropped on this base to cripple the Germans. And some say the last battalion is trapped there to this day under all that ice or retreated into the hollow earth.
Which takes us to Admiral Byrd.
Right.
Do you think that his descriptions, purported, alleged descriptions about what he saw, that craft that could fly around the Earth in a couple of hours, right? That's a pretty extraordinary statement, certainly for that time period. And he had to hightail it out of there.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think is accurate?
Well, I'd love to see and hold and read Admiral Byrd's secret diary. I think a lot of what we have is second and third hand information when it comes to that. It's kind of like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. They're not on display anywhere to go read, but we have so many translations.
Mm-hmm.
I am inclined to believe Admiral Byrd was a man of character. And I don't think that he was in the business of making up things out of whole cloth. So I think that something strange did occur during Operation High Jump. They did encounter something down there they perhaps were not prepared to encounter. And they came limping back as compared to how they went down there. So, was there perhaps a German base down there? Did they perhaps fight it out in one last good big battle? Who knows? I don't know why that would be kept from the historical record. It seems like that would be par for the course, some great Antarctican battle. But if there be craft down there that were able to traverse one pole to the other in a matter of hours, then that does leave the door open to the idea that perhaps there was extraterrestrial contact at some point during the 1930s and 40s between the Germans and somebody.
I was approached about 5 years ago by a family, and this was in person, and their grandfather, I saw the documents as much as that they could carry. Their grandfather was Bird's co-pilot. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And sent me the medals of accommodation, the letters from Admiral Byrd promoting him after they got back from Operation High Jump. All of this documented. A crazy amount of paperwork. And they were going to get me some diary action and some other stuff that described what they saw when they flew a couple of missions into Antarctica and returned. They never contacted me. And it's just like everything else, right? When you're into this subject, everything is almost, right? It's almost right there, and then you have to take a left or a right turn. And
this is the only subject I've ever been warned away from, where I've ever been contacted and somebody said, hey, stop talking about this.
Now, before we head to the break, a couple of years ago, Linda Moulton Howe had a couple of witnesses that were part of the military that were exploring the underground bases there. And she was describing these, 30, 40 foot, they were stone doors, made of like diorite or something, black stone. But miles of hallways and construction underneath the ice down there that was apparently millions of years old. Have you heard these same references?
Absolutely. I had a source that was feeding me drips and drabs of Antarctica info through anonymous emails for a while. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened to them. They fell off the face of the earth. But they were very adamant about the existence of a secret city that was under the ice, that was being discovered now, that excavations were taking place as we speak to uncover the mystery that is down there waiting under 2 miles of ice.
Now, going back to the manuscript from the 1930s, the idea of Martians escaping Mars and landing in Antarctica, certainly when it was lush and it was a good place to hang out and it was the best place to land, makes a lot of sense. We have also recovered lots of meteors and meteorites, and rocks from Mars in Antarctica. We don't find them anywhere else on the planet.
No, they're always down there, though, for some reason. It blows my mind how they're able to retrieve meteorites in a frozen desert. But they're able to pinpoint where they land, and they go pick them up, and they do. They come from Mars, and that the most famous meteorite to come out of Antarctica came from Mars, and there was belief that it showed evidence of early Martian life, or at least that's what the talk was back at the time.
Yeah, it looked biological for sure. Werner Herzog has got an amazing documentary, came out last year, the year before, about meteorites. Okay, and they go down to Antarctica, man, and they go out on the ice, and they are picking up meteorites off the surface of the ice. And so when you're out there, it's all white, right? As far as the eye can see. It's nothing but you and a couple of penguins, and it's all white. And you're out there with your binoculars, and you're looking around, and you see a little black dot. You walk away, however far you got to go, and they go right there on the surface of the ice is a meteorite.
Yeah, it's a strange place. There's magnetic anomalies. There's strange craters that were caused by meteor impacts that have properties that can't be found on any other place on the planet. You have the southern lights, of course, that have manifest themselves. You've got the extreme darkness when winter hits. The extreme temperatures that exist around the clock down there. It's a very short season that researchers can go down there and do what they do. Which is why it was even more striking when John Kerry got down there, because he got down there as fast as he could. It's one of the earliest dates you can get down there. He was there.
Right.
So whether or not he was in contact with ETs when he got down there, I don't know. But he was there with a hurry on.
Man, I'm telling you right now, we got to take a break. But if I won the lottery, I'm buying a 747. I'm gassing that sucker up, and I'm flying over Antarctica. I'm not talking about a G5. Sure. No, man, I'm talking about, you know what I mean? 747 cargo. Let's go. And I'm going to go and look out the windows. That's what I would do. I would really do that. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Pete McCarthy. We're talking about the Antarctica mystery. This church, the Trinity Church, the Russian Trinity Church in Antarctica, St. George Island, it's a real thing. Check it out. It's incredible. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos. uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Pete McCarthy, host of Creepy Little Book. I wonder what that reference is. Wonder what that reference is, too. He is talking with us tonight about the Antarctica mystery. And where does a Creepy Little Book come from?
Actually, I've got it right here. It's an actual creepy little book that I carry around. I jot notes in. Years ago, I was a bartender, and one of my friends who was the chef, he saw me jotting in my book here, and he said, "Hey, you better not be writing about me in your creepy little book." So when it came down to come up with a name for the channel, I thought it was pretty apt, and that's what it is. It's just a little notebook I carry around.
It's a great name for a podcast.
Thank you.
So, what's next with Mysteries in Antarctica? What have you got for us next?
Okay. So, another great mystery of Antarctica are the cryptids of Antarctica. And one that stands out to me was one that was supposedly discovered by Russian explorers named organism 46B. An enormous 33-foot-long, 14-tentacled squid-like creature who lived in the subglacial Lake Vostok under 2 miles of ice. It had limbs that were animate and aggressive even after amputation. It could release a toxin into the water to immobilize its prey from a distance of up to 150 feet.
What?
And it displayed an astonishing degree of shape-shifting ability.
Nice. Did you see the press release? I'm going to say on Lake Vostok. That is a huge mystery. Did you see the press release from 2 days ago? 60 million fish found in a habitat in, I forget which lake in Antarctica. 60 million fish. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. And they have translucent blood. They have no red blood cells.
That is insane.
Yeah. You should see
How does that even work?
You should see the pictures. You should see the pictures. Okay, so Lake Vostok. Now, this is one of the great mysteries of all of Antarctica.
Right. But it's a Russian team that's been working around the clock up there, drilling into the ice to pull out these core samples. And according to this, the Soviets who established the Vostok station in 1957 discovered the site was atop a vast body of liquid water in 1974. So after 30 years of ice core drilling, they breached through to the lake on February 5th of 2012. Sometime between then and the 30th of November 2016, the story first breaks of this creature encountered in Lake Vostok, organism 46B. It disabled their radio intentionally. It could paralyze prey from a distance of 150 feet by releasing venom into the water. One of the researchers was killed by this thing that way. Later, while diving in the lake, the group was attacked. The creature released its venom, which took hold of one of them. The organism then proceeded to kill and eat him.
What?
Yes.
Ate a Russian researcher.
Organism 46B.
Wow. And the mystery around Lake Vostok, the Russians have been keeping this to themselves. Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It is decades they have been attempting to breach, and they are not talking about any of it.
Oh, no. This is and it's par for the course with all these world governments. They're going to keep all of this kind of stuff under wraps. It is just not the kind of thing they're going to make public. Whether they're dealing with some strange shape-shifting organism in Antarctica that may be extraterrestrial in nature, who knows? Like, who really knows at the end of the day? If there's a shape-shifting 14-tentacled squid-like creature from the Antarctic that can release a toxin into the water and shape-shift into the form of a human diver, you know, who knows how intelligent something like that could be? There's already speculation that cephalopods like octopuses don't come from this planet.
I think that's been accepted. I think that's a generally accepted. It used to be a theory. I think they're going there right now only because octopi are unique to this planet. I mean, you know what I mean? There's nothing, they haven't evolved from something else. They are, and the only way for them to be here is if they were brought here whole and complete. And there isn't really another way to look at it. And they're intelligent, and their intelligence, I will never eat squid or octopus again. Never. Now, what about the other side of Antarctica, which is crashed alien craft and landed alien craft, flying saucers, sightings, and contact?
All of that is par for the course for Antarctica. I would not be surprised to discover that extraterrestrials would have bases existing already in the Antarctic continent. It would not shock me one bit. You know, we hear about Dulce Base, of course, and the story of Phil Schneider and these idea of these deep underground military bases, and they discover a pre-existing extraterrestrial base. It would not shock me one moment to discover that there were extraterrestrial bases at the South Pole. Crash, whether or not an alien craft goes down to Antarctica, who's got claim to it? Who gets there first, I guess?
Well, there's that part, and what a great place to hide.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a great place to hide. Now, the other mention that you did earlier, and I want to know where your research has gone with this. We've been trying to find Atlantis for a long time, and I think that the conclusions are now there must have been an advanced culture that educated the planet at a certain point in time, because we made too many great strides too quickly, that this information had to come from a culture that has already existed before. Atlantis being Antarctica, what has your research shown you?
Well, I agree with the idea of a great mother culture existing sometime in the ancient past that seeded its ideas and its colonies across this globe. I think we can see evidence for this in the pyramids that exist all over the world. And those pyramids also alleged to be in Antarctica. Now, there's one thing I do believe for sure, that there are pyramids down there. Who built them, when they were built, or how they were constructed, I can't say. But I personally believe that these images I've seen that look like pyramids are not a naturally occurring mountain range. I think this is absolutely something we need to question. I also believe that there will be Göbekli Tepe-like discoveries made in Antarctica at some point. Whether or not those will be given to the public is another matter for the course. You know, it would just rewrite so much of our history to know the truth about our origins. To find Atlantis in Antarctica would speak to a pole shift so radical and so dramatic that it would have flash frozen the continent after it occurred. It must have been incredibly climactic. And I can only think it coincides with the idea of a worldwide deluge. So, I mean, for me, so it all goes back to the flood myth. And I think there's so much of this flood myth replete out there that we can say, hey, what happened to Atlantis? Atlantis goes down in the flood and then is flash frozen because the poles shifted at the same time. Because whatever happened on this planet was so drastic that we have no comparison for the type of natural disaster that occurred.
Well, do you have a timeline for this specific pole shift?
Well, that's the thing. You know, these pole shifts, if they have occurred, as some people have described, I think the most famous document that speaks to these is it the Thomas Chen document, the CIA Adam and Eve story, that talks about this massive pole shift occurring at some point 12,000 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
The 12,000 years. Well, okay, that would be the end of the last ice age.
Yeah.
So a pole shift then. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, that coincides too with some of the flood conversations that so many cultures have had as well. But I want to go back to the flash frozen part. So are you postulating here that Antarctica was lush then and then flash frozen 12,000 years ago?
It could have been the case. Or even sooner than that, depending on your cosmology. You know, if we're going to use biblical cosmology and take into the account the story of the fallen angels and the Watchers and the Nephilim and that kind of aspect to it, then we're talking shorter than 6,000 years. But, I mean, if we're talking at a grander geological scale, Antarctica was already inhabited millions of years ago by, you know, Martians. So something was already here and already there to make that happen. Whether that Martian colony goes on to become that mother culture, that's a good question.
Now,
maybe that's why we have the face on Mars and the face out in Antarctica.
Yeah, that face in Antarctica, man, still messes with me. I mean, I spent days talking about that on this show. I mean, wow. Okay, I want to talk to you about a couple of timelines before we run out of time here tonight, Pete. Because you're a biblical scholar, I'm a little confused on accepted timelines from a religious standpoint. Okay, I'm just a little confused about this. Because if we go into how we understand what a year is, right, today, and then we go back and visit what is in the Old Testament, and, you know, the reference of 6,000 years and Genesis and when was day one and when did all of this kick off here. And I understand there's a big chunk of this planet that stays on this 6,000 year timetable. But me and the way that I understand the Bible, we are not talking about timelines like that. We're talking hundreds of thousands of years. It doesn't. And what is your interpretation when these timelines are coming in? Because the Watchers predated everything for a long time. And this wasn't something that just happened in the time of Noah.
No, you're right. You're right. The Watchers show up at the fall of man. So, like, right after Adam and Eve sin. But there's people already around. I think, you know, I think that there's a way to kind of take the biblical narrative of creation and fit it very neatly into history. That's not to say that there weren't other things going on around here, you know, like a pre-Adamite civilization. When Cain kills Abel, he's worried somebody's going to kill him. Who's he worried about? He doesn't know anybody else. He just killed his only brother. So there's other people around. We also see two individual creation accounts in the Bible, where in our image and our likeness we made them, and then later on Adam has his rib taken out and Eve is made, and he goes, "Behold, I've made you a companion." You know what I mean? So very distinct creation stories that exist that speak to the idea of a pre-Adamic civilization of something that may or may not have been human. I personally don't think they were human. I think that this story of creation explains the human presence on Earth, but it doesn't preclude the idea that there could have been something else already here.
Does it
whether those were the descendants of the Martians, I don't know.
Exactly. Does it line up with, Sitchin and the Sumerian tablets and the Nephilim and Enki and
I draw parallels between the Watchers and the Anunnaki all the time. I think that there's too much there not to pay attention to it. It's real easy to ignore, but a lot of people think Sitchin's very controversial, and he is. But taken in light of the Book of Enoch and the idea of these Watcher angels, coming down to Earth, interfering with the genetic lines, creating a race of beings that was not human and not angel, but something else entirely, they kind of fit together like crooked puzzle pieces. And, I'm happy to try to force them together as much as I possibly can.
Would this, and what I'm suggesting here, would this, I've always looked at this Martian connection. And the timing of when Mars went sterile, if you want to put it that way, and to Sitchin, and the existence and the appearance of Homo sapien here, and always going back to this Mars connection where everything seems to fit, and now you have this manuscript from 1930. That would also be thrown into the mix, which predates Sitchin by 50 years.
Yeah, it's very interconnected, and that's what I love about all of it. That's what keeps me coming back for more. That you start pulling on these threads and you find these connections. If you go deep enough into the Heffernan manuscript, you will run into Helena Blavatsky. You will run into occult thought and New Age thinking that would evolve out of the Theosophical movement, out of the ideas that were being brought via East to West that would be foundational to the Western esoteric tradition.
Yeah, I am going to I'm going to get into this Heffernan manuscript. Again, something that I had never heard about. From your description, if we're talking about flying saucers and portals and Antarctica and Martians and leaving a dead planet, and coming here, it fits into everything. But it's when this manuscript was presented publicly, it was before other theories and other ideas were laid out. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, that's what got me too. I mean, there were essentially no ufologists at the time this Heffernan manuscript was allegedly published.
There is website after website about the Heffernan manuscript. I had no idea. And I can't research it during the show, but wow, that's absolutely incredible. What do you think the future is, though? Do you think that there will be a time when we can get a tourist visa and go to Antarctica and do our own thing?
I'd love to be hopeful and think that would occur, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, there's too many governments involved in any civilian going down there. Of course, you can go on an Antarctica tour where they'll take you to Deception Island and maybe you get your picture with a penguin. But as far as crossing the continent, you got to go to the State Department, and then the State Department has to notify every other country on the treaty, and you got to be down there for a purpose. So, for some people, I guess, of great funding, they could mount scientific expeditions. But, for regular folks, I don't see it possible. I just, it's a bummer, but I'll never go to the moon either.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Finding evidence of a city under the ice, right? Game changer, no doubt. I think the tropical aspect to it is there. Okay. But if we start finding bones, right, human remains, and other things in Antarctica, that is going to be a difficult thing to explain away.
They may have already found something like that, as far as we know.
Have you heard any stories about that?
I've heard stories of the discovery of pre-Adamites down there. Like, if you look into the work of like Good and Wilcox, they'll talk about stuff like that. And they get into the idea of pre-Adamitic races that lived down there and that died or froze or flooded. There's various different theories on what may have happened to them.
Yeah, but I think
there is some research that indicates maybe they're skeletons.
Those theories from those two come from smoking weed. No evidence there. I'm more concerned with a slip of the tongue from an archaeologist from a university of somebody at a polar station down there.
Unfortunately, nobody's out there giving out information like that. I feel like the well really dried up with Antarctica. We were seeing so much hot information coming out of there for the course of about 6 months. And whether or not they clamped down on it or it was just lightning in a bottle, who knows? I know there's whistleblowers out there that are still talking about it, but the interest in it doesn't seem to be as strong as it was there. I think, for a moment, we were seeing a brand new branch of research opening up, specifically into the frozen continent, and how that touched on things supernatural and paranormal, how that reached back to other areas more esoteric.
Yeah, I have a friend. His name's Brad Olson, and Brad, a few years ago, maybe you've talked to him, but Brad went down to Antarctica. Rented I don't think he rented. He bought a passage on a sailboat. I forget the name of the city in Argentina, the southernmost city there. Where they take tours down to Antarctica, and he did just that. And he went to, I don't know the specific number, but I think around a half dozen base camps, right, along the coast. This is what he did, and this is what I found really interesting. Brad's a researcher. He's a great author. He owns a publishing company, and he's also 6'8". Right. So, he's in shape. He's an intimidating guy, and he's
a big guy.
Yeah, in that he's not intimidating like he's mean, but if he's on the scent of something, and you've got somebody towering over you asking questions, well, you're going to give up some answers. So he's always got that going for him. But this is what he did. He went to each one of these research stations, got to whoever was running it, right? And in some cases, it's just like a half a dozen people there, right?
Yeah.
Or 12, 20, whatever. But you can get to the main person easily enough. They see the boat pulling in. They want to hang out with everybody, and you get to take, okay. But he went up to each one of them and said, okay, where's the UFOs? Any ET action here?
That's a good question.
And so he went to, there was a couple of drinking opportunities, right? Like a little lounge area, cafeteria at these base stations, and took advantage of that, and also did that on the mainland too as well. But this is what happened. Nobody even heard of the word UFO. What's ET? What are you talking about? Never heard. What do you mean? Nobody knew anything, right? And that's what I found bizarre. What do you mean you've never heard of a UFO, right? And one of the most talked about subjects in all popular culture on the planet Earth is ET, little green men flying saucers. We all know what those are. Nobody in Antarctica had a clue what he was talking about.
Of course not. Of course not. That doesn't surprise me. I saw a TikTok video not too long ago of an Antarctic researcher, and he's like, "Hi, I'm an Antarctic researcher. This is my day." And it goes through his various duties, and it's listing on the side: no lizard people, no UFOs, no hollow Earth. I'm like, yeah, sure there isn't reptilian.
Right.
That's what you're going to tell me.
When I want to thank you for coming on tonight. It was a great conversation. I look forward to our next conversation on the show. But check this out. when Brad was planning this trip, this is what happened. He comes up to me and he goes, "Man, I'm going to Antarctica. You want to come with me?" I was like, nah, I'll pass. Because I'm thinking it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to. Dude, like a month later, flies down there, buys a van, and drives and gets down. I forget the name of the city. Oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. And actually gets down there and finds a boat and pays his way to go to Antarctica. He really, and had I known that it was going to be that easy, I think I would have done it. I would have gone.
Oh yeah, you'd have to. It's just too much of an opportunity.
Thank you so much, Pete. What a great conversation tonight, and I learned so much, man. This was an amazing show. Let's talk about Creepy Little Book. How, where, and when can everybody check it out?
You can find me on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Likewise, I'll be doing a show at 1 a.m. tonight, right after we wrap here. It's my regular night to do a show, so we're going to be talking about the Hollow Earth. Oh, the Shaver Mystery. Yes, indeed. We'll get into some Shaver Mystery. We'll talk about the Smoky God at Adorfa. The various tales that have come to us throughout the years from people like Ignatius Donnelly and such regarding the antediluvian world and what it was like, as well as the Hollow Earth. So it'll be fun. Incredible. Have you heard Shaver speak? Richard Shaver himself, yes. Okay. Yes, I have heard recordings of him. Yes. Were they Long John Nebel? I believe? Long John Nebel, man. I was just going to say, I have listened to all of the Long John Nebel shows, and specifically over and over again, all of the Shaver shows from the 50s. Incredible stuff. Incredible. I was complaining the other day that nobody's adapted that for a modern audience. I mean, it was such a hit in its day. Well, why not do something with it today? Are you talking about Shaver or Long John Nebel? Oh, the Shaver Mysteries. Okay, well, there's Shaver. But the flip side is, why doesn't somebody do another show like Long John Nebel did? That was the biggest show in the United States. He had 50 million listeners a night. He was out of New York. It was called The Party Line. It was 6 hours a night, 6 days a week. Long John Nebel never stopped working. And he would have like 5 or 6 guests, and they would just sit around and yap. It was just an amazing show. Oh, yeah. Well, he laid the foundation that, later on Art Bell would come along and pick up. Yeah, Art Bell, some Dave Jenkins in L.A. In the 80s had a great show called Open Mind on ABC Talk Radio here. I used to listen to that. And others, and of course Art came along later. But you're absolutely right. And but Long John Nebel, man, and he did it for 1955 until 1974. That's a pretty good run. Yeah, he did a great episode on the Jersey Devil. I highly recommend anybody who's just getting initiated into Long John Nebel. Yeah, that's a great show. And I'll tell you who we used to have on all the time was I'm tired. Flying Saucers, 1947, Mount Rainier. The original UFO sighting. Oh, Kenneth Arnold. Yeah, Kenneth Arnold. Man, I'm tired. I can't believe I just spaced on Kenneth Arnold. He had Kenneth Arnold on all the time. And you just go back, he had Don Kehoe on all the time. He had did he have Truman Bathroom on? Possibly, maybe. Yeah, Truman Bathroom, who was in love with Aura Raines. Yes. Those are great shows. Long John Nebel, and they're all archived, and they're 6 hours a whack, man. So it's an investment if you're going to binge on Long John Nebel. But I'm glad you're hip to him. I'm glad you're hip. Oh, absolutely.
You're the absolute best, Pete. I really enjoyed the conversation tonight. Good luck
Thank you so much for having me.
Good luck on your next show. Tell everybody I said hi tonight. All right?
I will, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me, Jimmy. It was a great honor.
Yeah, it was an awesome conversation. Pete McCarthy. Now, everybody, it's all simple to do. The links for Pete are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. His Facebook, his Instagram, and his YouTube. Of course, it is Creepy Little Book. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. He's going to go do his next show. And I am going to come back and take some of your phone calls. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church, and I personally invite you to the 2022 Conscious Life Expo this February 4th through the 7th, live at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This year, we have the most exciting speakers, including Linda Moulton Howe, Jacques Vallée, Whitley Strieber, Adam Apollo, Billy Carson, Daryl Anka and Bashar, William Henry, Caroline Corey, Susan Slaughter, Daniel Brinkley, Sarah Breskman-Cosme, George Norrie, Gail Thackeray, and many, many more. I will be hosting all weekend long, including the keynote Ancient Secrets panel on Friday night, 5 vendor and exhibit halls, 3 floors of speakers, panels, and celebration. This is the biggest event of the year, and early bird passes are available now. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for the schedule, speakers, and information. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unexmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unexmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30daysfree on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JadyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Man, oh man, I'm back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to thank Pete McCarthy. That was an incredible show tonight. That was an incredible show. So much to unpack. That was just, TMI is used too much, too easily. It's just bandied about. It's thrown about. Tonight was TMI. I learned a lot. Wow. Okay, hold on. What color? Nitrous? Okay, so he brings up his 1970 Strat and then says it's not for sale. That's not cool. And he also didn't tell me what color it was. What color is it? What color is it? What color? I want to know. I want to know. Okay. Let's go back and digest a few things. I have a 15-year-old Billy Squire P-Base that was $100. That still works. Billy Squire? Really? There's a Billy Squire P-Base? Or he's just saying it's a Squire P-Base. Billy Squire. That's actually pretty funny. Okay. Anyway, so much to unpack. Now let's just do a recap. Pete, you dropped a lot of nuggets tonight. The first thing. Now I've opened up the phone line 747-228-2051, and I want to confirm that they're on. I had a bunch of people calling during the show, and I shut the phone lines down. And I've just reactivated them, 747-228-2051. But normally the calls are out of control right now, and there's nothing here. So hopefully, yes, it is on. It is good. Okay, 747-228-2051. I got that out of the way. First things first. The Hefferlin Manuscript. That is Hefferlin. The Hefferlin Manuscript. That was published. Now, there are a few different foundations and a bunch of websites where you can go and see this and get a PDF of it. I didn't do that during the show, and I'm not going to do it now. But it's 30 pages, and I am going to go and read this as soon as I can. Because, now this is according to Pete, that this was published in the 1930s. And in these 30 pages, what is described as a Martian group left Mars, came to Earth, and went to Antarctica to live. Okay, millions of years ago. Now, I haven't read the manuscript, and I'm going to go in and check this out. But in this manuscript, again, the Hefferlin Manuscript, Hefferlin. I'm saying that so you know how to spell it, and you can go and read this for yourself. I think we're all going to do this very quickly. But In Antarctica, there were portals. There was the ability to travel, and there were 7 cities, the main city being called the Rainbow City. And now I'm looking here, manuscript 01A of the Heffernan manuscript, and it is the description of the Rainbow City. It says the surface city in the Antarctic with Rainbow Temple and its location. The underground city, now this is all the contents of the manuscript. The underground city terminal for the vast tunnel system under all of the earth. The next section is the ancient 3 and how they operate. The next section is the circle-winged plane. The first trips into deep space and their effect on man. The next section is the mysterious portals, instantly ready to move anyone or anything anywhere. Snakes in the glass, men's relentless and ancient foe, the serpent people. And then here it goes, man. And I have got all of this here. Let me see here. And okay, this is incredible. Now this is so cool. I've got the PDF. I'm looking at the PDF here. Heffernan claims he designed a flyable circle-winged plane before flying saucers became news in 1947. In fact, most of his material in the manuscripts, utterly fantastic of the 1940s, now seems worthy of consideration in 1960 when this was written. Most ufologers have heard of the manuscripts or have seen references to them in literature. Mrs. Heffernan accuses Ray Palmer of misinterpreting them for his own purposes. Okay, this is introduction, the Heffernan manuscript by Gladys Heffernan. And here it is, the description of the Rainbow City. This is page 1, and it continues. Wow. Okay, so I've got the PDF here, and you can go. There are many sources for this around the web, and you can go and check this out. So there's that. Next is the Ark of Gabriel. Now, the timeline, we have gone through this a few times tonight, and if you're tuning in now, it is the Ark of Gabriel, not to be confused with the Ark of the Covenant, which we are all very familiar with. Its description in the Bible, its construction, its size, and what it is, and what was inside of it. Of course, the Ten Commandments. That's the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of Gabriel was a weapon. Now, I did, during the breaks, I went to a couple of theological websites that do talk about the Ark of Gabriel, and I briefly read on one side. This is a religious theological site from a church. They said in this that the first references to the Ark of Gabriel were from 500 to 600 BC, which also sounds like the same timing of the Ark of the Covenant. I'm not a biblical scholar here, but what is important is that the Ark of Gabriel was given to Muhammad, and that was around 700 AD. And again, I'm going to be doing my research about this. I'm thrilled that Pete brought all of this to us tonight. I had never heard of any of this before. But to that end is the Ark of Gabriel was then brought to Ethiopia. Remember, it's a weapon. And stashed In the 1880s, I believe this is what Pete said. I'm going to continue my research. It was brought back to Saudi Arabia, specifically Mecca. Now, in 2015, apparently sometime around the Hajj, the annual Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca, to visit a meteorite that is part of the temple there. But that's a side story. That the Saudis started to, with a crane, unearth the Ark of Gabriel, and there was a massacre. The construction workers were killed. Now, I don't know how many. Pete gave us a couple of numbers there. Were unsuccessful. They then had a stampede where 2,000 pilgrims, Muslim pilgrims, died in a stampede. Now, I remember when this happened. I remember the news reports about it, and you have 2 million Muslim pilgrims there, all marching, walking to Mecca, and that's the stampede happened there in the excitement of the walk. The other version of the story, according to Pete, was that they were running from something. Could have been the Ark of Gabriel. Okay, so now we had 2 drastic losses of life in Mecca in 2015. The Saudis then reach out to Russia, and Russia sends some boats. I don't know if they were military or research vessels. I have just read a couple of different news reports and gave 2 different versions of what type of vessels docked there, but they did. And they helped retrieve the Ark of Gabriel, and it was placed on one of these boats. Now, at the same time, after 967 years, this is what I had read, the Pope sends an emissary to Cuba to meet with a Russian Orthodox Church official in Cuba for the first time in 967 years, and they actually met, and that the Pope gave a manuscript. Now, I've read what this manuscript is. That's besides the point, but this manuscript describes the Ark of Gabriel. And this manuscript was given to the Russian Orthodox Church. The Russian boat with the Ark of Gabriel on it, this weapon, was then freighted from Saudi Arabia over the ocean to St. George's Island in Antarctica, where the Russians have a church called the Trinity Church. That's what it's called, and you can look it up. It's I've got it right here in Wikipedia. I am looking at the church here and its description. The Holy Trinity Church. I've got it. It's right here. The Holy Trinity Church of Russia is a small Russian Orthodox church on King George Island near Bellinghausen Station, a Russian research station in Antarctica. It is one of the 8 churches on Antarctica. It is the southernmost Eastern Orthodox church in the world. And the ambitious project was to establish a permanent church or monastery on Antarctica, first materialized during the 1990s. A charity named the Temple of Antarctica was approved by Patriarch Alexius II and received donations from across Russia. The organized completion for the project that was won by the architects from blah, 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 blah. The church is a 15-meter high wooden structure. Now, it's a gorgeous church, tiny, one little room. It's really cool looking. You can look it up, Trinity Church Antarctica. Go to the Wikipedia page, And they've got a bunch of images. They've got a map. They've got locations. They've got some interior shots, and it is it's small, but it's really awesome. It's really awesome. So the story goes from Pete that this Russian ship docked at St. George, and they brought the Ark of St. Gabriel to the church for a ceremony. You don't know what the ceremony is. Is it still there? I don't know. But learning all of this tonight on the show, the Hefferlin manuscript, and this story starting in 700 AD with the gift of the Ark of Gabriel, which was a weapon to Muhammad, is very interesting. It being unearthed again in Saudi Arabia in 2015, put on a Russian boat, sent down to Antarctica. Wow. It's amazing. So I'm going to jump into this research and see what I can find out. Now, with that, let me see what I've got going on here. This is the first call that came in. Let's see who's up first. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy, what's up? It's Drew.
Hey, Drew, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. Just wanted to fill you in on Hawk.
On Hawk. Yeah, man. How's he doing?
Good. He come on 111, like within minutes of that asteroid that passed by. Got what you mentioned it on the 12th or the 11th, but yeah, he come really early, and my wife was bleeding, and we almost lost both of them, so it was like an emergency thing. So, but he's doing good now. He's in the NICU. We're in Colorado Springs right now, and yeah, I'm about to go hold him at 3 here in a couple hours. It'll be the first time I'm able to hold him. So
wow, that's incredible. Well, I'm glad that he's doing better, and everything is going to work out, man. It's going to be just fine. And
yeah, I really feel he is too. I really feel it. So.
Yeah. Once you take the turn in something like that, everything just works out. Nature has a way, and babies have a way of being really strong. So. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, man, and you know that, and the faders are behind you. And I know you're at the hospital now, so for me to ask you if you listened to the show tonight, you probably didn't.
I listened to some of it in and out. I'm over at the Ronald McDonald House. So what we're dealing with, my wife was at the hospital today because of COVID. Only one of us is allowed in the NICU per day. So we're going one day on, one day off, which really sucks, but it is what it is.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with you, man, and keep us updated. Stay on top of Twitter, and the Fadernauts are with you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Oh, one more thing. Funny, crazy story. On the way to the hospital, my wife is going into early labor and everything, and I'm like racing to the hospital. It's the night of the 10th. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I look over, and there's an asteroid or a meteor that's like going in line with us, and it's in the air. It's in the air for like 4 or 5 seconds. My wife sees it, and I'm like, man, we're having a baby tonight. Like, I don't know how, but we're having a baby. And I left the hospital after the baby come and everything in the morning. I ran home, take care of the horses. It was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and another meteor was doing the same thing when I left, and that asteroid passed by while right as my son was being born. So that's how I know he's going to be all right. And there's other things that's just lined up. And but I appreciate everybody. Appreciate your thoughts. Appreciate the faders and everything. And from Colorado Springs, thank you guys, and thanks all the prayers.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. And it's going to be wonderful tonight. And keep us posted, man. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be here until March or April, so it's going to be a while, but
yes,
he's going to be great. And thanks everybody, and thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, stay on top of Twitter. That's the only way that we get our news on Hawk. All right, now go.
right. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, go hold them.
If no one's bought a book yet, now would be a great time to help support us. So Buy a book, buy a T-shirt, something.
I'll talk to you. Thank you so much, Drew.
Appreciate you, Jimmy.
Appreciate you. Have a great night, man. It's going to be awesome. Keep us posted.
We will. Later.
Thank you, Drew. Just an incredible story with Drew and his family and Hawk. And wow, so he's going to get to hold him for the first time tonight. And that's absolutely incredible. So, man, I got time. Oh, I'll squeeze one in. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Braden from Dallas, Texas.
You need to take me off speaker. We can barely hear you.
All right, hold on.
I've only got 60 seconds, man. So who's calling?
Sorry about that. Braden from Dallas, Texas.
Hey, Braden. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, just working.
Right on.
I was just going to say, what do you think about the Tonga volcano that's going on and how a little faster with this?
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, you just dropped off a speaker again, too. Sorry about that, Braden. That was a loud blast right there. Yeah, the Tonga volcano. I have you guys seen those images? I have never seen anything like that. Oh my! Right, and we hear about an earthquake under the ocean and the possibility of tsunamis and tsunami warning center, and here we go and tsunami watch. This time you see that type of eruption, and tsunami warning means a lot. And I am just so surprised that there wasn't any loss of life. I think there might be 2 missing people, but with an eruption like that, I know that one island has disappeared. But it was uninhabited, so it was an uninhabited island. But incredible. The reports are now, it's like the biggest volcanic eruption in the last 30 years. And it continues to erupt. There's been 3 major eruptions in the last 3 days. 3. Incredible. What a great night tonight. What a great night. Pete McCarthy, you are unbelievably good, my man. Thank you for that conversation. I've got a lot to learn. I've got a lot of research in front of me. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast only copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, Chris Plain of the Debris. Tomorrow night. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.